20 million fans in attendance, you know, the entire country behind him. You can hear him as he comes in. So in a much shorter Rocky training montage in the snow, doing unbelievable superhuman things while Drago is literally being fed every astronomical chemical and using every piece of machinery on the planet. I've got to fill an entire hour and a half, Andrew. I mean, we don't have anything to talk about other than one bad fight in a few minutes. I'm stretching this out. Drago is completely trained, but we know he doesn't have heart. He couldn't run as hard as Rocky because Rocky could run up a mountain. Does that even make sense? You know the sequence I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, yes, and it does make sense that they're showing how
it's called foreshadowing in writing.
Working out, yeah, they were trying, yeah.
That Drago doesn't have the heart.
The machines do not do the same workout as getting out there and actually still doing it. And,
which, by the way, in the prelude to this show, you heard all the music.
That's why Big Bear is still in business, Lee.
Right.
Honest with you.
By the way, there's a moment in the new Creed movie where they were going to go train, right? And they're in L.A. They're at Delphi in the new movie, and he's like, we got to go somewhere to train hard. And I'm thinking, yeah, you go up the hill to go train in Big Bear, and it'll look just like the correct Rocky movie, and you'll be... Like, here's the thing that I hate about the Rocky movies. They just throw all real boxing shit out the window. Like, this is just fantasy land of boxing. Like, boxing would never happen this way. Never happen. No way would the heavyweight champion of the world go to Russia to fight Drago on Christmas Day. They needed him. If he said, look, I'm fighting in the U.S. at the MGM again, you're going to do it. You're just going to do it, dude. And that's the part that kills me about these movies. But I digress. Rocky fights the Russian and beats the Russian, but the Russian beats the shit out of him. We find out in Rocky 5, the shittiest of the Rocky movies, that he's now got brain damage. He signed a power of attorney. He's broke. He starts to ignore his son, who has a pretty strong claim to say, Dad, you're a piece of shit, based on Rocky 5, right? He trains Tommy the Duke Morrison, who will die shortly of AIDS after the film. And did I miss anything? He died from AIDS, right? He did.
Yeah.
I'm not making that shit up. From fucking all of the women of Oklahoma. All of them. I'm just being honest.
There's many
and
stories.
that movie culminates in him having a street fight where Rocky suddenly knows how to fight street against the kid. Okay.
He doesn't all of a sudden. He was an enforcer in the 70s, Lee. I think
but he got smarter. You can't go back to being street after being smart.
I don't care. I think the guy knew how to street fight. And you can't say his character didn't know how to fight on the street.
Which takes us to Rocky Balboa, the new era of the Rocky movies. Which, by the way, if I had to watch Rocky movies, here's what I would do. I'd watch Rocky 4. I'd watch Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa is good, right? That takes us into the Lampley era with
Tarver.
Yeah. He fights Antonio Tarver, who's the heavyweight champion, who, by the way, put on so much weight that he just started fighting at heavyweight from that point forward and didn't feel like dropping back down to light heavyweight. But that's right after he knocked out Roy Jones, right?
Well, yeah, he was hot at that moment.
He was red hot. So they get Antonio Tarver. There's a CompuBox thing on ESPN that shows that Rocky would have beaten Antonio Tarver in his prime, right? The what if. His son is watching this, who works as an accountant, and he's already like trying to stay away from his dad because his dad's too famous. Then he goes to see his dad because his dad's going to take the fight. And then the greatest fucking Rocky quote of all time from any of the movie: let me tell you something. Life's not fair. Let me tell you something. This life's hard. But it's not how hard you get hit. It's about getting up and coming forward. This world doesn't owe you a thing. So stop blaming everything. Yeah, okay. It's at the beginning of the show. You heard it. Go back if you want to listen to the beginning of the show. I put the actual clip in the beginning of the show just because it's the greatest inspirational clip of all time. By the way, written by Rocky Balboa. What's his name?
It is used a lot. You hear that one a lot in those inspirational movies.
Yeah. So Stallone wrote this, produced it, and so he's trained at the Delphi by Carl Weathers. I'm sorry, I keep using their real names, right? He's trained by Apollo Creed's trainer. There we go, got it out. Right? Who is reprising his role of Rocky IV as being his trainer. Okay? And he trains him for Rocky Balboa. He gives a big speech. The medical board clears him. He gets his fight. Antonio Tarver breaks his hand. He goes the distance. He loses by split decision. Unless you buy the extended edition, Andrew. And then he wins. Did you know that? There's 2 different endings to that movie that exist.
Huh.
You didn't know that, did you?
Nope.
The actual story arc to the universe, he loses by split decision, but they did make a he won ending. Doesn't change anything. He can't be heavyweight champion, so it doesn't matter. Okay. Then we jump to Creed. Creed is the story of Apollo's illegitimate son, right? Apparently, right before he fought Drago, he banged a chick, got her pregnant. That kid wound up in the foster system. Then Creed.
Oh, it's not even a legit. I didn't even catch that one either.
Dude.
I watched Creed, but I think only once.
Dude, she gets him out of a foster home.
I think I do remember that.
He's an
you're
illegitimate kid.
Yeah. It's coming back.
All right.
That is.
Aren't you glad I did the full recap?
Oh my god! No, not really. Keep going. No, we're finally here. We're finally fucking here, Lee.
Yeah, all right. The illegitimate kid was raised by Apollo Creed's wife, now played by Felicia Rashad. You know her as Claire Huxtable. I'd like to know right at the top, how many times was she drugged and felt up? Wouldn't you want to know if she was?
Yeah. That's a sad story there. Yeah.
America's mom.
Bill touched it.
Of course he did. She was hot in her prime. That's the main tag milfing. All right, I digress. I mean,
is he in prison? Bill's still in prison right now, huh?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. I know we're trying to fill out a show. All right, so the illegitimate kid is raised by the.
Could you imagine Can you imagine Bill finishing you and you're paralyzed looking at that? His last victim, he was in his 70s, and she said she could see what he was doing, but she couldn't.
Where do you want me to put the pudding?
Traumatized for life.
I would like to talk to you about the things. So let me put the pudding on your belly. All right. So the illegitimate kid of Apollo Creed is pulled out of foster care and raised by Mrs. Creed. Do we really say Marianne? Her name's Marianne Creed. I know that from the new movie. Marianne Creed, played by Felicia Rashad. She raises the boy. Of course, the boy becomes a fighter, and then needs a place to train. He goes to the Delphi Academy in L.A. because he lives in L.A., where he jumps into the ring with Andre Ward, who's named Wheeler for some reason. We can't call him Andre Ward. I don't know why. And he gets knocked the fuck out by Andre Ward while sparring. And he loses his car. Did I recap the first part of that movie pretty well?
Yep.
So he decides to go to Philadelphia and find himself. He finds Rocky, who has even gotten smarter and is now a fairly stable and successful restaurateur, which, by the way, is an underlying story of him and girls. And, like, he's trying to, meet a chick in the last film and Rocky Balboa. There's a whole lot of shit going on that didn't carry over to Creed for some reason. Like,
isn't he trying to bang that girl? That
he was in
Rocky
Balboa.
Rocky
sure
5?
Was. Yeah.
It's his son's little friend. He's trying to fucking make out with her.
Whatever. Why didn't he? Why didn't he? Getting a little tail.
Yeah.
I'm still in love with Adrian. She's been dead for 20 years, bro. You got to take out Mr. Yankee and give it a go. All right. So he goes to Philadelphia, where the movie suddenly becomes very black. Like, at least they wrote Creed 2 black, right? It's not some fucking wet dream of... First of all, the movie was not written for the first time by Sylvester Stallone. It was written by someone else, and that's how the movie got made. And fortunately, the movie is very ethnic. And I'm not saying that like, oh, hey, Whitey, shut the fuck up. I'm saying it because it's correct. It's black. It's about the street experience. It's about sweating in a shithole gym and being hungry to fight. Not some white candy-coated version of Compton where there's a swimming pool and gay fucking hugging your buddy on the beach because you ran faster than him, like in Rocky 2. Like, they actually did Creed correct. Like, it looked good. It felt right. I liked the vibe of the movie. I liked the girlfriend. I liked the music. I like the fact that they're eating fucking Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. It's got the real Philly experience. Everything about Creed works for me. Then he fights in that movie the middleweight, right? This is middleweight at this time, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. Middleweight champion who is played by... Why am I drawing a blank? He just fought last weekend, Andrew. Help me.
Tony Bellew.
Tony Bellew, who is this foul-mouthed guy who's going to jail for apparently assaulting everyone. Right?
And Ward gets hurt in that movie?
Right.
Like,
he's supposed to fight Wheeler, right? He's supposed to fight Wheeler, but he takes a punch at him during the press conference. It's pretty close. Look, everything about it is right. So at the last minute, they decide he's going to fight Baby Creed. Right, that's a reoccurring theme. He can't get out from under the shadow of his dad, yada, yada, yada. They keep using this Baby Creed term. He gets into fights at clubs. Like, he's having a real problem trying to find himself. He doesn't even want to fight under the name Creed. He doesn't want it to be known that he's being trained by Rocky. Like, there's a lot of shit going on. Like, there's some real daddy issues already starting to sprout up in Creed, right? So he fights, and he loses. He loses, but he gains respect. What is this fucking theme about losing in Rocky movies but gaining respect? I don't get it, Andrew. You know what losing is? Coming in last. By the way, coming in last. Right?
Yeah.
Which takes us to Creed 2. All right, you guys are all here. First of all, the movie starts off in Russia. I'm not going to give real spoilers. I'm not going to give you the outcome of the big fights. I'm just going to give you the overview and let you decide. My overall feeling of the movie, it was a little slow. There weren't enough... Because it was written by a better writer, there's more story to this. Again, Rocky's still getting smarter for some fucking reason. He's not twitching or drooling, even though when he talks about Drago, he goes, he broke things inside of me that I can't ever fix. Really? I can't see it, because it looks like he beat you smart. Fucker. Shut the fuck up. Right? Like, he's beaten cancer in the last film. Like, Rocky's always beating shit constantly. Like, he's getting smarter. He almost got a hot girlfriend. Clearly half his age.
20 years, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Right? And then you get to Creed. He fucking beats cancer. And by the way, if you have cancer, you should not support the Rocky franchises. That's bullshit. Like, Rocky just beats it. There's not even a mention of it in Creed 2. Like, it's no big deal. He's just cool. He fucking killed it. He's an animal. Yada, yada, yada. Right?
Let's move on.
Yeah, right. Like, it never happened. So, the movie starts in Russia, Andrew, with a shithole back gym, foreshadowing the way Rocky was in the first Rocky movie, fighting in a shithole. But it's Dolph Lundgren's son as a heavyweight, right? Knocking people out. Then Al Heyman, who's sitting in the stands. Yes, I'm going to call him Al Heyman. It's a black promoter, and he looks an awful lot like he's playing the Al Heyman character. If you want my opinion.
Oh.
Yeah. It's not... The only character they're trying to make fun of in this film is Al Heyman and the PBC. That's about the only overtone to the whole film. So Al Heyman sees Drago and he goes, okay, it's time, right? After his second fight.